Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of Finding 10, where we are gonna search for a 10 out of 10 movie. As it is my first video, I thought it would be fitting to talk about a franchise that I hold so very dear. I think it's a franchise that is an integral part of my childhood. And the franchise is The Chronicles of Narnia. Let me say this from the very beginning. I love Narnia. I'm 100% Narnian, but I do have some frustrations with the franchise. So let me explain to you what Narnia is. Originally, Narnia is a 7-book series that consists of 7 books. It was written by C.S. Lewis, and it was turned into a movie. But here I'm not gonna talk about the 1988 adaptation of Narnia, because I don't watch it. I'm just gonna talk about the books and the 3 movies that came out. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So let me tell you guys first what I perceive Narnia to be. I think Narnia is the best fantasy story that you can give to a child. It's filled with wonders, it's filled with beautiful creatures, it's filled with magic, it's filled with good and bad. And that's why I fell in love with it, because as a boy, it was so mesmerizing to see prince and kings, fights, battles, fighting with witches, with trolls. To be clear, I was obsessed with it. I remember me and my sister were very obsessed with it, right? So we would watch it at minimum once per day. I remember we would remember the lines from the movie, so we would play the movie and then we will act it out as the movie's playing. So I would be Peter, as he was my favorite, my sister would be Lucy, or maybe I would be Eustace, and she will be Edmund. And there's actually a scene that still stuck with me until this day. It was a scene from Prince Caspian when Caspian was having an argument with Peter. And to prove this, I'm gonna act out the whole scene. But I'm warning you, I'm not much of an actor. I cannot act for the life of me, and it's mostly gonna be cringe. So the context is, they were arguing on who's to blame for the failure of capturing the Telmarine's castle. And hands on a Bible, I didn't memorize this before the shoot. I just still remember the scene vividly. Alright, so here's how the scene goes. What happened? Ask him. Peter. Me? You could have called it off, there was still time. No, there wasn't, thanks to you. If you could have just kept to the plan, those soldiers might be alive right now. And if you've just stayed here like I've suggested, they definitely would be. You called us, remember? My first mistake. No, your first mistake was thinking that you could lead these people. Hey! I'm not the one who abandoned Narnia. You invaded Narnia. You have no more right than Mirages does to lead these people. You, him, your father. Narnia was better without a lot of you. Stop it! This is so dumb. And I even remember myself going inside my wardrobe and closing the door, hoping that it will lead me to Narnia. Because that's how much I love Narnia. But as the 20-year-old me, I think Narnia is a very interesting story, not just because of all the fantasy elements, but also because of all the biblical imageries. I'm not saying that Narnia is only fitting for Catholic and Christians. I just think it's a very interesting topic. Because C.S. Lewis wasn't really a Christian, nor was he a Catholic. But he managed to take stories from the Bible and turn into something more appealing to the eyes of the children and something that is more consumable to the general audience. And I think the most obvious imagery came in the form of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. To me, the main story of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was heavily inspired from the story of Easter. And I'm pretty sure all of you have known the story of Easter, so I'm just gonna talk about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. At its core, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe tells the story of Edmund, how he chose to betray his own family for the White Witch. Edmund, who are meant to represent human, were filled with pride, ego, and jealousy towards his own siblings. He betrayed Aslan, who is a representation of God, for the White Witch, who is a representation of the devil. As the story progresses, Aslan ultimately sacrifices himself in order to save Edmund from the hands of the White Witch. Because even though Edmund betrayed him, Edmund was still his subject. And after his sacrifice, Aslan came back to life. To me, that just shouts Easter all over the place. And I think even in the first book, which tells the story of the creation of Narnia, there was actually a storyline where Aslan told a young boy to get him an apple. And the apple was located in the territories of the White Witch. And when the young boy got the apple, the White Witch tried to tempt him into eating the apple all by himself. It's a clear parallel to the story of Adam and Eve. So that's why I think Narnia is a very interesting story. But now let's get into the movies. To me, the movies did such an amazing job in adapting the books. Andrew Adamson, the director of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian, did such an amazing job in capturing the beauties and the wonders of Narnia. The last battle in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe was so cool to me because it was fawns and centaurs teaming up with cheetahs to fight polar bears that teamed up with trolls and giants. And there was a phoenix at one point. It was every young boy's dreams to watch that battle happening. Harry Gregson Williams, as the composer of the Narnian films, he did such a great job in creating music that feels Narnian. The cast did amazing. James McAvoy as Mr. Tumnus was great. His portrayal can actually make me feel for Mr. Tumnus.
It's not something I have done, Lucy Pevensey. It's something I am doing.
What are you doing?
I'm kidnapping you.
Liam Neeson really gave Aslan a godlike voice.
Do not cite the deep magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written.
You dare not refuse me.
Enough. I shall talk with you alone.
And the young actors, while they were relatively new, they did such an amazing job in portraying such beloved characters. But the best of them all, to me personally, I think is Tilda Swinton as the White Witch. Because through her portrayal, I can actually feel the charisma of the White Witch, and I can understand why Edmund was so captivated by the White Witch after his first interactions.
Edmund?
Oh, and the CGI on Aslan was really great considering what we've seen from the live adaptation of The Lion King. We can actually feel Aslan's emotion. When he cried, when he was sad, when he was angry, when he was scared. And mind you, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe came out in 2005, so... But I do agree that the Voyage of the Dawn Treader was kind of forgettable. It was kind of meh. I'm really sorry. But it did such an amazing job of introducing Eustace Scrubb.
There once were two orphans who wasted their time believing in Narnian nursery rhymes.
Please let me hit him.
No!
So here's my frustration with the franchise. As I've said, there are 7 books, but the movie right now only has 3. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is actually the 2nd book. Prince Caspian is actually the 4th book, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader was the 5th book. Why did they skip book 1 and book 3? It was because it wasn't about the Pevensey kids. The characters in book 1 and book 3 has no relation whatsoever to the Pevensey kids. So it's understandable that they chose to skip it. But then there are books 6 and 7 which connects them all. And in book 7 they actually came back. Every one of them came back. Not just the Pevensey kids and Will Poulter, but actually the characters from book 3 and book 1 actually came back. I think everyone came back except for Susan, because it turns out she became kind of a... I don't know, she grew up. I don't understand that part. I don't understand why Susan just chose to forget Narnia. But everyone else came back, so I think it could be a perfect bridge. As you've known, Susan and Peter wasn't allowed to come back to Narnia by Aslan at the end of Prince Caspian. Even Edmund and Lucy wasn't allowed to come back to Narnia after the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So to see them coming back in book 7 was actually pretty amazing. I haven't read book 6 and 7 because I was waiting for the movies to come out first. I wanted my first experience in the story came from a movie. All I know is that they are coming back in book 7, and it is basically gonna be the last fight with the White Witch. And it just infuriates me so much that the movie stopped at the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. It came out in 2010. And I've been waiting for 10 years, 10 whole years, for the Silver Chair adaptation.
I did my waiting! 12 years of it! In Azkaban!
And what infuriates me most is that right after Voyage of the Dawn Treader came out, I saw an article. The director of the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, I forgot who it was, he said that there is a plan to make the Silver Chair. I read somewhere that Will Poulter was actually down to reprising his role as Eustace Scrubb. But there was no news after that. And I remember in 2014, I actually checked IMDb. And it was set TBA on the release date. So in my mind, I thought maybe they just haven't decided on the date yet. Maybe they were still filming, maybe they were still editing. So it still got my hopes up. And what infuriates me most is that I know deep down that right now, there is no chance of a sequel coming out. if there's another adaptation of Narnia, it would have to be a reboot. It just infuriates me most that I'm never gonna see Kendall Keynes, Georgie Henley, William Moseley, Anna Popplewell, Ben Barnes, Will Poulter as those kids again, because they are the ones that made me fall in love with Narnia. I don't know, it's such a shame. It infuriates me that they didn't continue the franchise. Alright, so hear me out. This is my big idea for the Narnia franchise. First, you start off with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then Prince Caspian, and then The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. They got that part right. And then you continue with The Silver Chair, introducing Jill Pole. And then you finish it off with The Last Battle, introducing Diggory and Polly, who are the main characters of the first book, and introducing Shasta, who is the main character of the third book. And after that, you can do whatever you want. If you want to do a prequel, you can do it because the audience was already introduced to the main characters. And if you don't even want to do a prequel, you just want to do a spin-off, you can actually do a spin-off based on the third book, and it will be okay for us because they've already introduced us to the main characters in the third book. So I just hate when potentials go to waste, and I think this is one of those cases. So I think I'm still but my frustration with the franchise have nothing to do with the movies. I still think that those three are very good movies, especially for children and for fantasy fans. So I'm just gonna rate each movie individually. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe gets a 7.5 out of me. Objectively, I think it's the best movie out of them three, and it's the most Narnian movie. Prince Caspian gets a 7.2, but subjectively, Prince Caspian is my favorite. And The Voyage of the Dawn Treader gets a disappointing 6.5. I am sorry. And if it weren't for the cast, I would have given it a much lower score. So I think that ends up my rant. If you're a fan of the fantasy genre, you should definitely watch the Narnia franchise. Or if you don't have the time, you should at least watch The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Because I think it's a must-watch for any fantasy fans. And I challenge you guys to find all of the biblical imageries in the movies and drop it in the comments down below. Or if you have any suggestions on what movie or franchise should I talk about next, feel free to drop it in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed my rant, click the like button in this video, and I will see you guys at our next destination.